Well, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, vinyl community. Mr. Rick here once again. Want to give a shout out at this time to the old goat. I've known quite a few old goats in my time and get along with all of them. So, to the old goat. Boy, that's good. And I pulled up a few records that I think that he might approve of, and I want to take a look at some of them. And the first one, excuse me, bones in that, is Creedence Clearwater Revival's Mardi Gras album. Now this came out in 1972, and this was their last album on the Fantasy label. And before they made this album, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a story that I heard. John Fogerty went to the group because he was writing all the songs. He was playing the electric guitar in all the songs. He was doing all the singing. He was producing all the albums, recording them and everything. And he went to the group and he said, I'm doing all this extra work. I want more of the profit. And of course, from what I understand, his brother went into a tizzy and quit the band. And the other two said, no way, we're a group, we split it equally. So John said, okay, if that's the way it's going to be, I'm going to write 3 songs for this album. You're going to write 3 songs, and you're going to write 3 songs for this album. And that's the way they did it. And this album, in my opinion, stinks. And of course, that, in my opinion, that and $1 will get you a cup of coffee. Might even get you a beer if you buy the right brand. But when this album came out, there are, John's records are good. He did Hello Mary Lou, Sweet Hitchhiker, and Someday Never Comes. But the rest of this album, they sound like a second-rate hillbilly band on a lot of these tracks. And out of all the Creedence Clearwater Revival albums, this is the one that I'm most disappointed by. And it was their last effort together. Here's a good one. Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill from 1972. When I was a kid, my friend had this on 8-track tape, and we must have wore that thing out listening to it. It's such a great album. I mean, not only the hits, Do It Again and Reelin' in the Years, but there's so many other good songs on it. Fire in the Hole, Change of the Guards, Dirty Work, Kings, all these great records. This was just, in my opinion, was a great album when it came out. Of course, it was Steely Dan's first. That was the first time I'd ever heard of Steely Dan. And it's a great album from 1972. Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. Here's another good one. I always enjoyed Dr. Hook, especially when the cover of the Rolling Stones came out. That's where I got educated on that band. And when that record came out, I went out and bought the 45 to it, and then I went out and bought a copy of Rolling Stone magazine, because Dr. Hook, after this record came out, they made the cover of the Rolling Stones, which that song is all about. But this is a good combination. It's got Sylvia's Mother on it, Walk Right In, Sharing the Night Together, of course the cover of the Rolling Stones, Only 16, and several of them, others. But this is a good album. Dr. Hook, greatest hits. I enjoy that. Enjoy Dr. Hook. Greg Allman. I haven't heard this album yet. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. I just picked it up. It's a little worn, but it's on Capricorn Records, but it's playing up a storm, and I'm looking forward to listening to it. There's the opening of the gatefold, and I'm looking forward to hearing this Greg Allman Band. I just picked this up, oh, it's about a week ago, and still haven't had a chance to listen to it. Here's another good one, Blue Oyster Cult Spectres. The only problem with this copy is that it's got a scratch on it and it skips on Godzilla, which is the greatest song on the album. But it's a good album, and it's got a lot of good songs on it. Are You Ready to Rock? And Celestial the Queen is on it, and Golden Age of Leather, and several others. And there's the back of it. That's from 1977, and Blue Oyster Cult. And I used to have another one of their albums, Agents of Fortune, but like a fool, I traded it in, and I'm looking to refine that one. Here's another good group that was really great until they lost their lead singer, Molly Hatchet, Flirting with Disaster. This is a good one. This is another one of those albums that, when in my party days, when I went partying, this album was playing. This is one of the albums that was playing. Everybody was listening to Molly Hatchet or Leonard Skinner or, you know, a lot of those great bands. But this is a good one. It's got Whiskey Man on it. It's All Over Now, and Jukin City, and Let the Good Times Roll, and several others. Molly Hatchet. There's the back of the album. I always loved their covers. Their covers were great. They had some great album covers. Molly Hatchet. Here's another good band, the Best of BTO. Bachman Turner Overdrive. Yes, indeed. They were great. This is from Randy Bachman, and they had some great hits in their day. They got around 1973 is when they came out, and this album centers on the hits from 1973 through 1976. And it's got Roll On Down the Highway, Hey You, Looking Out for Number One, Give Me Your Money Please, Let It Ride, and several others. They were such a good band. They really were. It was a shame when they broke up. But Bachman Turner Overdrive, it's a great album, and a good sounding one too. Back in the 70s, we had some great Southern rock bands. And this is just one of them, the Marshall Tucker Band. This is their greatest hits. And I'll tell you, I just love this album. It's got Heard It in a Love Song, Searching for a Rainbow, Ramblin', Fire on the Mountain, Long Hard Ride. Just so many great songs that these guys did. And they were just one of them. Gosh, we had some great Southern rock bands back in the day. You know, with Leonard Skinner, Charlie Daniels, Marshall Tucker, and so many others. There's some good music produced back then. And in 1985, when this album came out, and I heard Money for Nothing, I went out and bought it as soon as I could. It's still got the, you can see I only paid $6.99 for it. You won't find it for that price new in any record store today. And it's got this, I used to keep the receipts, but that one, I can't tell you where it was bought because it's too faded out. But this was a great album. A #1 classic album. I mean, it's got So Far Away on it, Walk of Life, let's see, Brothers in Arms, and just a lot of good songs for it. That's Dire Straits from 1985, Brothers in Arms. Another good one. And last but not least, in my partying days, back in the late 70s and 80s, mid-80s, you didn't go to a party without this album being on. Everybody was listening to this album. Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. It was just a great album with, of course, Toys in the Attic is on it, Uncle Salty, Adam's Apple, Walk This Way. My favorite on the album, believe it or not, is You See Me Crying, the last track on side 2. And Aerosmith was really hot back then, too. This album and the Rocks album are my two favorite Aerosmith albums. I haven't heard much of their newer stuff, but I enjoy the old. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that the old goat is doing good. And we'll be back with some more a little bit later on. Until then, till the good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise, we'll see y'all before long.